Mik-Mik the bear values exactly one thing: a quiet, predictable afternoon in his garden. But that peace is shattered the moment a wayward rocket sends his beehives and fence posts flying into the canopy. This is Oscar's doing. He is a rabbit with a specialized talent for turning a simple morning into a localized natural disaster, usually involving high-velocity debris and a complete lack of an apology. This latest moon launch didn't just rattle the windows, it pulverized Mik-Mik's favorite boat and left his garden looking like a construction site. The bear is left staring at the wreckage of his honey collection and his home. Mik-Mik is done. He tells Oscar plainly that there is no friendship here, no super team, and that if the rabbit has any sense, he'll disappear before the dust even settles. You have a bear who wants the world to stop, and a rabbit who can't stop moving. They are living in the same forest, but after the boat disaster, they are officially on a collision course. Enter Carl, a delivery stork with a track record so spotty he's one mistake away from being grounded for life. He's the guy who once delivered baby zebras to a family of horses, and he hasn't checked his map in hours. Instead of heading for the bamboo forests of China, Carl's flight path loops wildly over the wrong hemisphere. He spots a house, assumes it's the right address, and drops his cargo. The cargo is a confused, wailing baby panda. Mik-Mik now has a house with no roof, a destroyed garden, and a high-maintenance infant that won't stop crying for its mother. Oscar sees a path to redemption. He convinces a reluctant, sleep-deprived Mik-Mik that they have to return the cub themselves. If they survive the trip to China, Oscar might finally get his friend back. The deal is struck out of pure necessity. Mik sets off on a 1,000-mile river journey, trapped on a boat with the one animal responsible for ruining his life. The river trip starts exactly as expected. The boat is leaking, the map is upside down, and the two neighbors are already shouting over the current. They eventually pull Duke the pelican out of the reeds. Duke claims he's a world traveler who shared tea with queens and cycled with movie stars, but he mostly uses his stories to avoid doing any actual rowing. Then they meet Yanos. He's a wolf who is terrified of his own shadow, literally. He spends his time arguing with a monstrous personification of his own anxiety that tells him to run away from everything. This is the team: a grumpy bear, a hyperactive rabbit, a delusional bird, and a wolf afraid of the dark. They are statistically the least likely group to survive a walk in the park, let alone a trek across a continent. Thick fog rolls over the water, turning the river into a maze of hidden rocks and whitewater rapids. The crew has to stop arguing just to keep the boat from being smashed into toothpicks. They eventually hit the Great Wall, a 30-foot stone barrier that stretches as far as the eye can see. There's no gate in sight, meaning they'll have to find a way to launch their entire mismatched crew over the top. Duke stops talking about his celebrity friends when he's tasked with scouting the top, and Oscar stops making jokes when he has to hold the baby steady during the climb. The constant threat of the river and the wall is leaving very little room for their usual antics. By the time they reach the top of the wall, the bickering has stopped. Mik-Mik instinctively reaches out to study Yanos, and Duke is actually listening for directions instead of giving them. A massive yellow python lunges from the canopy, its coils wrapping around the small bundle before anyone can even shout a warning. The baby panda is gone in a flash. The group stands frozen. For Yanos, the inner voice is louder than ever, screaming at him that he's a coward, and that this is the moment to run and hide in the bamboo. But Yanos looks at Oscar and Mik-Mik, who are already grabbing sticks and baring teeth. He stares directly at his own monstrous shadow and tells it to be quiet, stepping forward to stand between the snake and his friends. They move together. Duke creates a distraction from the air. Oscar uses his speed to harass the snake's tail, and Mik-Mik uses his weight to pin the predator down just long enough for Yanos to snatch the baby back. The wolf who couldn't face his own shadow is now the first to snap at an apex predator. They stand their ground until the snake retreats, realizing that the baby is no longer unprotected. The trek ends in the quiet of the bamboo forest. They hand the cub back to his parents, watching as the family reunites, while the rest of the forest looks on. Duke finally has a story where he's the actual hero. Yanos is standing tall without looking over his shoulder, and Mik-Mik realizes the silence of his garden might actually be a little too quiet. As they prepare to head back, Mik-Mik stops Oscar. He doesn't just thank him, he finally calls him a friend, acknowledging that the rabbit's chaos is exactly what saved them all. They arrive home and start planning a new, sturdier house for Mik-Mik. But then a familiar whistling sound fills the air. A delivery crate slams into the ground right between them. Carl clearly hasn't learned his lesson, but it doesn't matter. Whatever is inside that box, they aren't facing it as neighbors, they're facing it as a family.